Hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Dawn of Dreams hard no damage run. This is stage 8, it's called Onimusha Awoken. Which, I don't really like that name, but anyway. I like this environment. This environment reminds me of a level in Onimusha 3. Because it's the same kind of theme. And I like the organic-y settings. I think this game does a fantastic job of giving you a nice variety of places to fight in. Because if you can mix up the environments, if you can mix up the fights and the enemy layouts, you're halfway there to having a great game. And the job role for that position is called, I think it's the Events Planner, or something along those lines. And you're essentially the person who designs the sequences that happen within the levels. You know, you're responsible for how the encounters begin, what the encounters are, what the stipulations are in said encounter, what enemies occupy it, how it works, what the win, you know, how you win those situations, you know, how you lose them, all the different states in between. And that to me sounds like a fucking awesome job, because I think it's just cool, and it's an opportunity to be creative, it's an opportunity to bring new gaming experiences, and that is definitely something that, you know, I would love to work towards or be a part of. But once again, it's another one of those positions that is usually advertised on the websites that I'm checking, you know, daily, as you need 3 years experience working on a AAA title. And I always say the same thing, like, how the fuck do I get 3 years experience on a AAA title when I can't even get entry-level jobs? Like, come on, guys. You know? You can't ask for 5 years experience on an entry-level position. It's ridiculous. And it's really frustrating too. But I just think the event planner is probably a super cool position to be a part of. You know? And I don't think it takes a large amount of programming or coding skill. It's just, there's probably a part of that job or a sub-part of it which needs a whole lot of that. But that's why you have your programmers. You know, you have your designers generating your assets and enforcing the stuff that the people are coming up with. You have your programmers making sure that it works and it functions and it doesn't crash. This test of valor is actually pretty tricky, because this enemy, I think he's called a Don Gacha or something like that. He's very strong, he's got a lot of life, and he's one of the trickier Isens, so you'll notice that I'm doing the magic one, because doing it to these fellas is tricky. And the checkpoint on this is not the best either, so you have to... I cocked it up a few times before I decided to just fuck it off and do it that way. But there's an item on this game that allows you to see when the enemies are vulnerable to critical attacks. And when I first saw it, I didn't think it worked, because I didn't understand what was happening. It said the enemy would flash when they were vulnerable, and they never flashed. And it turns out, when you lock onto them, the circular lock-on icon, that's the thing that turns white. But it's one of those things where you cannot wear it and do it on reflex. You can't do it, guys. It's too fast. And, you know, I might be getting older and my reflexes are dulling, but I still think I've got pretty good ones, and there's just no way to sight do it. You cannot sight critical these enemies, because some of them are fractions of, you know, frames of a second. It's literally, you have to preemptively predict it. And the cool thing is, the more you play with it on, the more you see it, the more you get a feeling for the timing, and it's a really good tool for learning. But I was wishing it was one of those things where you could just do it on, you know, on site. And maybe there is somebody out there, some, you know, crazy Japanese guy who does that, but that is not me, and I don't think I'll ever be that sharp. If I was, I would probably be flying jets or doing something ridiculous, like controlling drones for the military. But I'm not, alas. I'm talking over this video. So the enemies on this level, a couple of new guys. You'll notice there's the crazy, like, masked, hooded bomber guys. I don't even mess with those. All they do is run around like something out of Scooby-Doo laying bombs. It's really Wile E. Coyote, and there's no real excuse to get hit by it unless you get super unlucky. And what I mean by this is an enemy that can lay a bomb off screen, and when you turn around and the camera switches, you stood on it and it blows you up. That is the only time you'll ever really have much of a threat from this creature. The enemies that were with it, however, very dangerous. They're this crazy, froggish, hopping around weird thing that fire discs at you, and when you get close to them, they have this spinning kick they do, so you want to be real careful. But throughout this walkthrough, I've discussed level design that I've loved. I've discussed, you know, the cool parts of this game, and now it's time to talk about some of the bad parts. So, one of the things about the level design that's present here is it's not all combat. They have some traversal stuff, they have some mild puzzle things happening, where it's nowhere near as just obscure as your original Resident Evils. It's still enough to motivate your mind to realise that you're not just chopping dudes up all the time, so it's not like, you know, your Dynasty Warriors type games. But on the flip side of this, every so often there comes a sequence of level design which, I don't know if it's lazy, I don't know if they just had to reuse an asset here because they didn't have the schedule to make what they wanted to make, but the developers cannot be happy with the way this turned out. And what this is, guys, is there is do you see the map, how it's kind of all artifacty? But it's a sequence of rooms. Think of it as like a noughts and crosses grid. And these rooms are occupied with enemies, they're occupied with those portals you saw on the ground, and they're occupied with a room that tells you where your location is and where you want to be. And it's, in theory, you have to go to the right teleporter to get to the next level. If you pick the wrong one, it puts you back at the start on the level you were on. And you have to do this a handful of times. But the levels are all identical. Every single room looks the same. So, here you go. The blue flame is where you are, the red flame or the orange flame is where you need to be, and you need to use this information to get to the right portal. And it's just horrible. It's absolutely horrible. You know, it's the garden maze, or the, you know, it's like the fucking library from Halo. Like, if you ever played that game and you didn't know where you were going, it was just horrible. And this is like that, although it's probably not as bad because, you know, you're on Legendary and you don't have Flood insta-killing you. But this room, for instance, there is an enemy spawner and there's these two metallic dudes. What I'm doing here is I'm blocking the metallic dudes and I'm attacking the spawn, because if I attack the metal guys, not only do they take a very long time to kill, but the moment I kill one, the spawner will bring one back. And it's just this endless cycle of not a very fun room. So instead, I'm going to be defensive and I'm going to just capitalise on the slow enemies, the fact I can block everything they do, and then get on with it from there. And it's an effective strategy, but there are parts of this that it's almost like padding. There are certain parts of certain games where you can tell it just doesn't feel the same as the rest of the game. So it's either put in there for a very specific purpose, or it's been shoehorned in there because they needed something quick and it's the best thing they could come up with / they could do in the time scale. Or when this thing starts to rotate and vibrate like it did just then, it means it's going to attack. So you want to back away from it, or you'll get hit by its poison and you'll fail your no damage run. But there's just no need for this. And the rooms are occupied with some of the most annoying enemies. Like you saw the invisible electric guy just then. Later on there's going to be those rotating electrical balls and those door laser monsters. Just, it's a douchey ensemble of everything that is not that fun in this game put in here just to frustrate you. And frustrate you it does, because it's just not very fun. And a lot of it is, it's just cheesy. Like this... Like I was watching a Devil May Cry 4 video the other day, and there's a part in Devil May Cry 4 where you go through this magical forest, and it involves following the direction of your shadow to get to the right one, and if you get to the wrong one, you can be there forever. And luckily enough, it's literally 3 screens when you know what you're doing, but before you know what you're doing, it's one of those moments where you just kind of go, why is this in the game? And this is one of those moments. So I'm going to take this time to probably talk about some other things. And those other things will probably be the project that I've done here with the PS2 game. A lot of people ask for projects from me of things they'd like to see. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's one of those, you know, it comes with the territory of YouTube. There's a lot of stuff I'd like to see the people I'm subscribed to do, but a lot of the times it's unrealistic because chances are they already have a schedule, they already have the reasons for doing what they're doing and things like that. Like, I got a request a couple of times on my Resident Evil series for a Resident Evil 5 guide, and One of the things that's really annoying on YouTube is, depending on how you have your Google Plus set up, will depend on whether or not I can reply to you. And I don't know if it's on their end, I don't know if it's on my end, but a lot of people who ask really, good questions or inquiries that they've put time into so that I'd like to reply to, I just simply can't, because there's no reply function, and I hope people don't see me as being ignorant or above it, because I try to reply to as much as I can. But I physically can't reply to you, and the only thing I can really do is plus N your name. And sometimes I don't think that system works that well, because it's a very old tenant of a previous version of YouTube, which they got rid of a long time ago, and now for some reason it's kind of back. But somebody asked for a Resident Evil 5 professional run, and I've done a professional run of that game. I did it when it came out. I did it on a new game, which means you don't carry over any of the infinite rocket launchers or any of that other bullshit. But we've come to the end of the video, so I'll carry this tangent on into the next one. Thank you very much for watching, and you take care now.